Let's talk about lifting with ego to achieve maximal strength. Now, ego, we're going to define as the self, okay, especially as distinct from the world and other selves. So most of the time people are thinking of ego and they're thinking exaggerated self-confidence, okay? In this video, what we're talking about is being intentional about using I, the self, ego, and even sometimes confidence itself to achieve maximal strength gains. And here's how we're going to do it. So most of the time when you think ego, right, you think ego lifting, okay? And this would be, hey, I'm going to lift a weight that I think that I should be lifting based on this comparison trap to other people and what they think that I should be lifting and how much weight I should be moving day over day, or because, you know, today, hey, that hot girl's in the corner, I want to make sure that I'm lifting way more than I normally would, and I'm going to put myself at risk for injury, leading with the ego. I want to reframe this though, and I think that we should always lead with ego. I think we should always lead with self. I think we should always lead with intentionality behind what we want, how we want ourselves to be perceived, how we want ourselves to exist inside this container, right, of the gym. How do we want ourselves to be looked at? How do we want to look at ourselves comparative to the rest of the world? Now, I don't think that means that we need to put ourselves in risk of injury for, you know, disc stuff, for torn ligaments and tendons, right? I don't think that we need to do that. I think that what we do need to do is put ourselves in a position where we can absolutely use ego to our advantage, because there is a lot of motivation and a lot of energy that comes from comparison. Now, a lot of people will sit here and say, comparison is the thief of joy. And they could be right if we're talking about comparison of outcome, not comparison of effort, not comparison of work done. You could be talking about like, hey, me compared to Alex Hormozy, I'm a failure in the gym because Alex is way more jacked than me. But if you look at the amount of years that I've spent lifting versus the amount of years that he spent lifting, is it even reasonable that I'm better than him or stronger than him or bigger than him? So I don't think so. I think that realistically, what we're talking about here is, you know, we're mincing words and we're conflating definitions. So we're essentially using language to justify us not being the best that we can be. And so that's why I think we need to take hold. We need to retake hold of the word ego, because it is just self. It is me. It is me and my outward reflection of myself. So how can we use this to better achieve maximal strength? In one way that I think that we can do that is we can actually be self-aware, right? I know that sounds super rudimentary, super basic, foundational, but we can be self-aware. We can be self-aware with how we're feeling, okay? And this could be qualitatively. This could be, hey, how do my joints feel? Am I mobilized? Where's my heart rate when I'm resting? We can also pay attention to our surroundings, right? We can also pay attention to RPE. So your rate of perceived exertion, as we've gone over before, but in this regard, we're talking about, hey, we might need to lean into ego, lean into self, lean into everything that we are and are not to understand what rate of perceived exertion is this weight that we normally move by 10, okay? Maybe today, you know, 225 by 10 would be RPE 7, okay? Maybe today, 225 by 5 is RPE 7. And maybe that's because of sleep, maybe that's because of lack of carb loading prior to, or, you know, carb ingestion prior to working out or after, or we didn't sleep a ton, or we have a lot of other familial, hormonal, sexual stress, we've got relationship stress, we've got work stress, we're lacking money. Maslow's hierarchy of needs would say that, like, we can't really elevate and care about the next thing up until we have the foundations underneath it ready to rock. So I think that ego is not just throwing shit tons of weight on the bar and hoping that we make it because the girl's standing in the corner and is aroused by us moving heavier weight, because I'll tell you right now, she's not. Who's more aroused by you moving heavier weight is all the homies that are sitting, walking around the gym like, nice delts, bro. Nice lats, bro. Glad you can get all those bicep curls, bro. And is there anything wrong with that? No, I don't think so. Community is important. I think that's super cool. But I also think that we need to take back control of this, because you can believe, you can have a higher belief, right? You can have a higher belief in yourself and how you see me, my, than other people do, right? Someone might say it's not healthy for you to do Jefferson curls. It's not healthy for you to do XYZ, or you're going to get hurt doing XYZ, or you're stupid, or you're this. Sometimes you got to know when you know better, right? You got to know when your experience trumps their anecdotal thoughts, right? When your experience trumps what someone's opinion is. Like, legitimately, we're talking about leveraging ego, leveraging our confidence, leveraging ourself to lift heavier. This comes back to being aware of how we're feeling, what's going on, how do we perceive the exertion of what we're doing, right? Are we being intentional about planning, okay? Are we intentionally tracking, right? Are we tracking? Because if we're not tracking, how the hell are we going to be in a position where we can really leverage self? And then also just belief in general, right? If you're doing everything right, but you're not seeing results, chances are you're probably not doing something right. Chances are you have a blind spot that you don't realize. So I hope that next time someone says that you shouldn't ego lift, that you take a second to think, or maybe I should, but not in the way that they're defining it. Because most people define ego lifting as throwing on more weight than is necessary or is safe for you to do at any given time, for any given rep range, on any given movement. But I don't think it's that. I think that's just stupid lifting. A motion to rebrand ego lifting to stupid lifting, because at the end of the day, we're trying to progress, but you're also trying to test yourself. I think that there's something interesting when you look at, and Goggins talks about this, and look, I am not a Navy SEAL, I'm not in the special operations community, but I want to say that I think that Goggins makes an interesting point about people pushing themselves. In his book, Can't Hurt Me, and in Never Finish, he talks extensively, and on podcast, about Navy SEALs being the cream of the crop, or that being his thought prior to going in the military. What's really interesting, and I think something to maybe just toy with, is the fact that, you know, when people get to a place where they think that they are the cream of the crop, that they're doing all that they can do, that they're utilizing everything at their disposal to get better, sometimes they're not, right? And I think a good explanation of this would be Goggins doing ultra marathons and Ironmans in the middle of being a Navy SEAL. Granted, he was undeployable because he was injured and other stuff was going on. I hear you. But the fact that he's willing to continue to push himself means that he knows self. He's willing to go to extreme lengths to get shit done means that he knows self. Or he knows how little self actually is and how much he needs to press past the boundary that is given as acceptable from the comparison, right? I don't even know where I wrote that down. But from the comparison, right, where people are saying that you can or you shouldn't or you should, or that's stupid or this is dumb or I know better. Like, at the end of the day, you got to get back to self, right? So ego lifting, throwing weight on the bar, as most people define it, and just repping out reps because you're trying to arouse the babe in the corner, probably not a great idea. Intentionally leaning into self to progress in your lifting, completely different story. And I think it's interesting and important to note that that is more than just what goes on in the gym, right? Maximal strength gains come down to not just programming and not just your rep sets and your rest, right? It also comes down to nutrition and recovery, right? I mean, I think that overtraining is often overused as being the cause of something, and it's really under recovering, because you don't need to train less volume to get the stimuli that you're looking for oftentimes, right? Your 15 to 20 sets over the week. You need to still hit those, right? Check yes, Juliet, every single week, but then recovery, okay? You can't have 4 checks on 15 to 20 sets every week and then 1 check on recovery. That's not gonna work. Get back to ego lifting, but just start doing it the right way. Peace.